Jodie Marsh and I'm the General Manager of Sanguine Estate Wines, which is a small family-run boutique winery in Heathcote, Central Victoria. And I'm standing here tonight in the Maribyrnong Boathouse, which is owned by Master Chef Gary Meghian. Tonight we're holding our annual family dinner and we always start with a bit of an educational exercise. So tonight we're doing a food and wine masterclass. It'll be hosted by wine expert Matt Skinner, who you probably have seen on the television advertisements, my brother Mark, who is Sanguine Estates Winemakers, and also Gary himself. Now tonight they'll actually be talking about a particular vintage of our wine to be matched with a dish. However, because we pride ourselves on consistency, you could have it with the 08 vintage or even the 2013 vintage. So sit back with a beautiful Gary Meghian meal and a glass of Sanguine Estate wine and enjoy. Welcome, welcome, welcome. How is everybody feeling tonight? Pretty toasty in here, I think. It's a bit cold outside. For those of you who don't know me, and there's probably very few in the room that don't know me, my name's Jodie Marsh and I'm the General Manager of Sanguine Estate Wines. For those of you who do know me, I'm still the General Manager of Sanguine Estate Wines. I'd also like to introduce my business partners, which are my family, of course. My brother Mark is Sanguine Estates winemaker. And a trophy winner. I've got to get that in as much as I can tonight. So, Mark. Yeah. Stay focused. Then, of course, there's my father, Tony, and he is the wonderful helper to Mark in the vineyard and the winery, but he's also now manning our cellar door. Does a great job at that too, I might add. My mum, Lynn, who is an extraordinary office helper and also wonderful babysitter when we need her to babysit, and an expert at bottling. So that's her role. My husband Brett, who's stripy shirt, he has recently started to work in the family business as well as our international sales manager. So I'm his boss.
I'm his boss too.
We're both his boss. We can share that role. And the person who's missing tonight, very sadly, and she sends her apologies, is Mark's wife, Melissa, who is our finance manager. And Melissa is at home. She has a very, very good excuse. She's at home nursing a 1.5-week-old. Oh. So Mark's just had a baby boy called Spence. That's 3 boys. Someone that needs absolutely no introduction at all is Mr. Gary Meghian.
I thought you were going to say Matt Skinner.
Yeah.
I know who you are, Matt. I know.
As our food expert, and then, of course, our host for our masterclass and wine expert, and somebody that you've been seeing on television advertisements of late, and probably when the cricket breaks are on. Is that right, Matt?
When we're losing wickets,
when
usually,
losing wickets,
so that's terrible.
You see Matt Skinner, that's it. So welcome to Matt Skinner.
Thanks, Jodie. How's everyone doing? Excellent. That's pathetic.
That's my line. You can't use that line.
I think you got it from me. I know it's cold outside, but we've got an amazing... Hands up who came last year to this dinner. Most of you. So you know it's an amazing night of food, of family, of friends, and most importantly, wine. I'm allowed to say that,
yeah, absolutely.
I think so. So what we're going to do over the course of the next 45 minutes is explore exactly that. We're going to explore food and wine, and we're going to discuss it between friends and family. So does that sound okay with everybody? Yeah? Because it's a bit of a strange world. Wine can be confusing enough as it is, but I think once we get into the world of food and wine matching, it can get even more difficult and often unnecessarily confusing. And I think we've come so far with wine over the last few years, and we've come so far with food. Obviously, programs like MasterChef, the fact that we've all got the ability to travel to different parts of the world far more easily than the generations before us have meant that great food and wine experiences are so much more accessible nowadays. I think a little bit, of GFC as well has meant that we've gone back to our kitchens. We're far more interested in provenance now. where we source our food from and how much we pay for it. So we've become far more interested in food, and I think that's ultimately leading us to wine. So probably first question to kick us off, Gary, food and wine matching, is it fact or fallacy?
I was going to ask you that question. You know, for me, it's interesting as a chef because I've found with wine dinners, particularly in the past, that we get so convoluted with the food that, in fact, that it takes over the wine and then it becomes really confusing. And what I try and do is, when I had my first chat with Mark, is just say, give me one note that, as a winemaker, is important for you. You know, so for example, he said to me the Chardonnay melon. So then straight away I've got something to latch onto as a foodie. And I can match that. You know the chef's cheats way? Read the bottle. You know, because on the bottle it'll say, lovely oaky characteristics with zesty lemon and vanilla. And you don't, exactly. And a lot of winemakers don't. But I love that because I read it and they go, how on earth can you match that wine? And I go, read the back of the bottle. It says tastes like lychees. So that's what I'm going to do. And I think it's always a mistake. Most winemakers now don't put the notes on the back, which I like. Because once they put it in your head, that's it. You can't get rid of it.
You can't get rid of it.
And you're writing notes before the wine's bottled. So you're looking at barrel samples long time before wines evolve and change, and you know the notes don't always match.
And as a chef, and I think I've got a fairly good palate as a chef. I eat a lot of food. You can tell from the extreme body shape, right? But it's always fascinating to talk to people that love their wine because I get them constantly wrong all the time because the things that I associate with are often not what they're associating the flavours with. So I love the sommelier that comes up and says it has notes of barnyard and cabbage, and I go, you keep that one, I'll have something else. So I'm looking for yummy flavours, I'm looking for food flavours, I'm looking for things that evoke a little emotion or a little something in me, you know. So it doesn't matter whether it's lavender or cooked fruit or, you know, when someone says jam to me, then I go, yeah, great, love that. So that's what it means to me. So that's what I've tried to do. I tried to pick a key note or a flavour out of the wine and then match something that I would enjoy eating with it.
We know you've got to get back into the kitchen. Can you tell us a little bit about what the first three canapes we've got?
So I'm actually, you know what I'm going to say first of all? You said that this was like family. You've got no choice, have you? It's so tight. I'm looking at it. You're so close, it's really quite uncomfortable. No, it's not. You know, it's fine. Okay, so the first one, the one that's closest to you, the one that's going with the Chardonnay, is a little crouton, so olive oil, salt, pepper, a little bit of garlic, blue swimmer crab, lemon aioli, so like a mayonnaise, so it's quite punchy with lemon, avocado and dukkha spice. So I picked out that melon, I just went melon crab, melon, nuts, that's what's in the dukkha. You've got a bit of cumin, you've got principally sesame seeds, some hazelnuts. So that's why I picked that out. Melon and crab all goes together, so should work really well.
Fantastic Chardonnay flavours right off the bat. You know, citrus, a little bit of that slight nuttiness from the dukkha. It looks incredible.
Okay, and delicate croutons, so be careful, otherwise it's going to be eaten by your shirt rather than where it's supposed to go. So just be careful. Next one I did, there's a little homemade biscuit underneath that. So we made that with almond meal. There's a touch of flour in it. There are some people that are celiac, so you've got a purely almond-based biscuit. Works really well. It's got olive oil, rosemary, currants, and pepitas in, just blended together, rolled out, so it's like a little cracker. And on that, slow-cooked salmon, 46 degrees, a little capsicum and paprika butter, and then serrano ham, so ham on. So a little bit oily. It's got some, so not nice flavours. And again, I think characteristics in there. You said cherry, didn't you? Was it cherry? No, rosé was...
Yeah, rosé's more kind of a candied apple.
You don't want to be
There's a little bit of savoury stuff going on in there as well.
So I thought there's a bit of oiliness in there. Love ham on. And in fact, ham on goes with anything, just so you know. Coffee, tea, mid-afternoon, late afternoon, breakfast, just everything. The third one there is chicken parfait. So it's like a little chicken liver pate. That would be the rougher end of the scale, but parfait is very soft, very delicate. A little tartine of mushrooms, so we've got exotic mushrooms fried with garlic, parsley, so quite earthy, a little bit funky on that parfait, and then a sweet brioche. All right? Now you're going to get a fourth one, and that's to go with the Shiraz, I think, the last one.
Yep.
So that's a classic beef short rib, slow cooked. We cook that overnight in the pizza oven, pop out the bones, cut it up, and then serve with a marmalade of onions, bone marrow, and a bit of mash. So just a little reminder of winter. And reminder that if you eat too much of it, you will, in fact, look like me, so careful. All right?
Anyway.
Although I'm convinced that one day someone's going to go, the perfect body shape is gas. That's what it's supposed to be.
Anyone hungry? Yes. We've got to let you go. You've got to get back into
I'm just
the
going to
kitchen.
check the beef.
Yep,
Crack on.
and you're going to be back.
Let me know what you think.
Gary Meghian.
Cheers.
Thanks, Gary. We're going to move on. Let's talk about rosé. Hands up, rosé fans in the room. Most of you. I think the statistics are at the moment that this is the fastest growing category on the planet. And it basically, wherever the sun is shining, people will be tripping over themselves to drink pink wine. Essentially, pink is the new black, I think, as far as wine trends go. Absolutely. And rosé is an interesting beast because it can be made from any variety, and it can be made in a number of different ways.
Yeah, absolutely. It can be made with a little bit of residual sugar. It can be taken off the skins immediately. It can be left on a little bit longer so that you go from being orange or sort of a dirty orange all the way up to bright pink, even almost looking like a red wine. So there's just huge scope with it. And as a winemaker, I really enjoy making a rosé because you can choose any variety. I can choose one year to do it out of Cab Franc, or this is a Shiraz rosé. But so yeah, it's just got great versatility, and you can make interesting, lovely wines out of it that people want to drink. I think that's they used to be really sort of sweet and simple, and I think there was a certain clientele that would come into the cellar door and say, I want something sweet, so that would be what that wine was for. But they're much more serious now. They're a bit drier, they're more savoury, they're more complex. They go with a wider range of dishes, and all of a sudden the market has opened up for it.
Oh, absolutely. To the point now where we have, and some of you will have participated in it last year, but we have Rosé Revolution, which is a bona fide 3-month festival of kind of all things pink here particularly on the east coast of Australia now, and celebrating how far we've come with rosé. And I mean, I remember it was only sort of 5-6 years ago that rosé was, as you mentioned before, really tutti frutti on one side, almost like bubblegum juice, with lots of residual sugar, right to the point now where, and I'm sure you guys have seen them, but there's plenty of wines that are borderline, they're almost onion skin in colour, and they pass as rosé. They have this very faint copper tinge to them. And very delicate aromatics. I love the fact that this has these wonderful sort of smells of strawberry, red currant. There's a little bit of musk in there. For me, there's a slight floral note, but I I think it's almost a little bit like potpourri, those dried flowers, as opposed to sort of fresh flowers.
Absolutely.
And then on your palate, a wonderful texture as well. The wine isn't cloying in any way, but it's got obvious weight, and whether that comes from the skins, obviously, that short. How many hours is this in contact with its skins for?
Less than an hour.
Less than an hour to get that.
It's instant.
That colour.
It's Heathcote Shiraz. It draws colour out instantly.
So you're going to get a little bit of phenolic.
A little bit of that phenolic character, and you can sort of pick that up a little bit in that wine.
And that gives the palate that lovely sort of weight and bite.
Yeah, so it's got a bit more weight and texture than most rosés, and I would put this in the middle of the styles. It's not sweet, but it's not truly dry. It is dry sugar-wise, but it's quite fruity and full-bodied as a rosé.
I love it, and I think for me, I tend to treat rosé a little bit the same way as I treat Sauvignon Blanc and Riesling. I love drinking them as soon as they hit the market. So this is 2013, not released yet, but
this is one of our tank samples.
So this is the first time it's been shown?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So an amazing opportunity to look at this wine, and I think it's looking terrific now. How is it with the food, guys? Great. Oh, there's
go for it.
Not a lot of talk, and I can hear a lot of clatter of cutlery, so I'm assuming that's a good thing. As Gary mentioned before, obviously on the plate in front of us, we've got a couple of things that I love with rosé. We've got salmon for a start, and I think those slightly meatier members of the fish family, so things like salmon, tuna, trout, in particular, are great with rosé because you've got that extra bit of body in the wine, and you've also got those lovely sweet flavours, which I think lend themselves well to oily fish that's got a bit of flavour. And secondly, the fact that we've got some cured meat there as well, I think as well. If anybody spent any time in Spain, in Barcelona or Madrid, Seville, San Sebastian, you go to that part of the world, and I guess a lot of the cues we're taking with rosé at the moment are influenced by that northern part of Spain, particularly around Navarra. Anybody been to Pamplona and run with the bulls before? It's crazy, absolutely crazy. But I think that part of the world is where in Navarra they do some fantastic things with Grenache, or Garnacha as they call it, and produce these wonderfully fruity but dry textural rosés that work so well with food.
With food, absolutely.
Yeah. Any food faves of your own with rosé?
It really depends on the style of the rosé. I really like, some things like duck and things like that as well with rosés.
Yep.
When they're really dry rosés.
Yep.
I think as you can really enjoy both without them clashing too much. No, it's such a versatile wine.
We had a great one a couple of weekends ago. We went to South Melbourne Market, bought some quail, took them home, just really simply marinated on salt, pepper, olive oil onto the barbecue, barbecued quail, rosé.
Rosé, yeah, it goes well with some of those meats.
I think the spittoons for us are probably for drooling into it, make myself hungry as I'm standing up here watching you guys eat and talking about food at the same time as we go.
Absolutely.
Well, on the Spanish tip, I think it's probably a great opportunity to get into Spain's native red superstar, which is on the table in front of us as well. Very quickly, just to talk about that glass that you've just seen. So you've just had a look at the white A glass. Now we're looking at rosé out of this glass. Obviously, you can see the difference in the shape between the two white glasses is pretty marked. The contrast being that with the white A glass, that tapered, upright shape allows all those lovely aromatics that Mark was just talking about to be caught and really focused into that area there. Now, grape varieties like Riesling, like Sauvignon Blanc, Pinot Grigio, not Pinot Gris. Obviously, there's a difference in style between Pinot Grigio and Pinot Gris, but are fantastic varieties that really rely on their aromatics, work particularly well in that glass. You mentioned before, obviously, Chardonnay being richer and, obviously oak going into being employed into the production of Chardonnay, as it is in some instances with Pinot Gris as well. So you get some more layers and some more richness, and really, fuller-bodied whites. And any Viognier fans in the room tonight? Yep, Gewürztraminer even as well. Great in that glass there, because obviously that wider hip and that more open top allows the wine to really open up and breathe and be able to show
lots of different
characteristics and lots of different layers as there is in that Chardonnay. Whereas I think those lovely aromatic whites and rosés in this case look far more immediate and great out of that white A glass.
Yeah, it's really pretty and really jumps out. And like you said, there's floral notes and things like that. And I don't think you would see that in that other white glass.
Definitely not.